Hi, and welcome everyone. I'm Michelle with the Osceola Library System, St. Cloud Branch, and I'm here to welcome you to Dream Interpretation with Mitchell Osborn. This program is part of the Summer Learning virtual series, which includes escape rooms, puzzles, quizzes, and live programs. After the presentation today, please check out all of our summer programs at osceolalibrary.org/summer-learning. We have tons of things for kids, teens, and adults to do online, some of which you can earn prizes through Beanstack's reading app. At the end of the program, I will give out our secret Beanstack code word for today's dream interpretation program. And no, it's not dream, but that's a nice try. I'll also link the information within the chat box. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat during the program. We will also have time for a short question and answer session at the end. Thank you so much for joining us, and let's all welcome Mitchell Osborn, intuitive soul coach, animal communicator, tarot reader, and mindfulness coach. Welcome, Mitchell, and thanks for being here.
Today, we're talking about intuitive dream interpretation. And I want to say that what I'm going to talk about today is the best way I personally have found to interpret the dreams that come into my life. And there are different ways of doing it. The way that I'm doing it is kind of a little bit more with kind of like Carl Jung, the psychologist, his kind of mindset and thought. And one of the best books that I know today is Naked in Public. And this is Andries. It's a husband and wife, Andries. But Naked in Public is one of the best books. It's not a very thick book, and it really isn't. And I love that because it's not like it's science. It's more like, here's how you do it, now go do it. And there are a lot of symbols and things, stuff that I'll discuss today that if you don't take notes, they're in that book. I know the Osceola Library has this book in stock. I think they might even have 2 copies. So they'll probably be staffed up before we're done. Somebody's already on there ordering it. So if I look down, I'm looking at my notes. We were hoping to do a screen share, but we weren't able to get that done, and that's okay because I can do it without that. So the biggest thing I want you to realize is that the dream interpretation that I want to focus on is about, working intuitively, and I will dive more into that as we go. And that is really trusting your gut, trusting your intuition when you're working with the signs and the symbols and the images and the things that come up in your dream. The dreams are usually about allowing our subconscious and conscious mind to kind of communicate what's going on deep inside. And often it can have to do and work with images and pictures and things like that in our subconscious mind. I love this quote because this kind of speaks a little bit to, when I work, that truth is very important because this is from Edward Counsel, Counsel. In dreams, no one wears a mask. And for me, that basically means like in your dream time, it's really about truth that's coming through for you. A couple of the benefits of interpreting your dreams are going to be, to help you kind of understand your purpose a little bit more in life, help you to find a little bit better, wellness, maybe find more harmony and alignment in your true self. And so I think somebody's asking for someone to, you cannot unmute. No. So I'm the only one who can talk at this time. So we might be asking questions later, but not at the present moment. And then some of the other benefits, just bring more self-awareness, peace into your life if you work with the dreams, if you, choose to step up and work with them. Because, just like someone handing you a gift, if you don't open it, then you're never going to, receive what is on the inside of that. And a lot of times the gift giver stops giving. So I always tell people, open up your dreams, find out what's going on to help, bring a little bit more peace into your life. And also, dreams absolutely can help you solve problems. There are definitely precognitive dreams as well to help you kind of move forward in your life or to see what's kind of coming around the corner. One of the cool examples of how dreams can be used was Einstein, who just happens to be born on the same day as me, March 14th. But Einstein often would know where he wanted to go with his studies, or he knew that this was possible, like in his heart, like the the equation, whatever. He knew that he could get to it. He just didn't know the roadmap or how to get there. And a lot of times he would sit quietly in a chair. He would hold a ball, and below his hand on the ground were like metal plates or things like that. And as he started to drift off into sleep, he was thinking about the issues, thinking about the problems. And as he drifted off, he would start to move into that dream state. And as he fell asleep, the ball would roll out of his hands, hit the ground, and wake him up. Oftentimes able to consciously recall the dreams, the solutions, the directions that he could go. So it was kind of neat that he worked with that. I also know, Edison, Mary Shelley were a couple other ones that worked with their dreams as well. So one of the best ways to interpret your dream, and this is something I want to encourage you guys to start doing like right away, is getting a journal of some sort. And now that can be in your phone, it can be notes. You can just use the notes in your phone because it depends on, if you share a bed with somebody or not, or a room with somebody. Because if you have a dream in the middle of the night, you want to make sure that you kind of write it down, and you usually just have to write down some key words, but I'll dive a little bit more into that later. But the key things that you want to write down is who is in your dream, what is going on, where the dream is taking place, how things are going, and then why it might be showing up in your life right now. And if you do nothing else after today, as you start journaling and writing down who, what, where, how, and why, you're absolutely going to start making some advances working with your dreams and interpreting them. And as you write down the who, the what, the why, the where, the how, just simply ask yourself, who is in my dream? What are they doing? Where is it? And just intuitively feel what might be happening there. And also just working with, universal energy, preparing for your dreams as you go to sleep. You can say, show me something tonight in my dreams to help about this. And I'll dive a little bit more into that in another segment. But yes, avoid writing down details of your dreams that are not there. And a lot of times, if I look out my window and I see a red car speed through my intersection here near my house, and I say, what did I just see? I say, oh, I saw an angry person driving through my neighborhood. Well, I don't know that they were angry unless I saw them shaking their fist, yelling in anger. But what I do know is I saw a red car moving quickly through my neighborhood and in my intersection. So just write down what you know to be true. Avoid elaborating on things that might not be there, because that's where you start to get in trouble with stuff. And then the longer you wait to write down your dreams, the less likely you're going to remember. That's why it's really good to, in the middle of the night, if you wake up with a dream, to write just keywords down. You might just write down red car speeding and then go back to sleep. Because the moment you write down just a few of those keywords, the next morning when you see red car, sometimes I look at red car speed. Oh, my dream last night. So you'll immediately be drawn back to the dream, and like everything will come back up. Because all it takes oftentimes is that key word. And again, like I said, you can either type into your notes, and if you know how to text to talk, I know one of you knows how to text to talk really well. You could just text to talk and then hit save and just go back to sleep. But really important, or right when you wake up in the morning, write something down, keywords to remind you later when you can process it just a little bit more. So if nothing else, I know I've already said that once, but here's another one. If nothing else today, you remember this: the dream is about you. And this is where I interpret a little different than a lot of other people. I grew up being able to talk about and work with dream interpretation. It was safe to talk about this in my house, as in, we didn't talk about tarot cards, we didn't talk about psychics and medium, we didn't talk about death or anything like that, or animal communication. But dreams were okay to talk about. And the reason I say they were okay is because it was a little more acceptable to do that. And my mom was a big dream interpreter, and she went to the big old thick book of, interpretations. And that absolutely can work for you if that's the best way for you to do it. Look up the interpretation, fit it into your life. But for me, if you dream about, a red car moving through your intersection and, maybe it hit an animal or something like that, everything in the dream is you. The car is you. The driver is you. the animal is you, the intersection is you. And this is where you work intuitively to kind of, bring it back to, who and what's going on in your life. If you are that red car, what does red mean to you? For me, red would be like base chakra. So it'd be like, where can I find my family, my tribe? Speeding, am I going too fast? Do I need to slow down? The animal, what does the animal represent in my life and in the work that I do at this moment? So this is how you would do it. So some of you, I think, are privately messaging me. I'm not able to look over and answer your questions. You can message the group or message the Osceola library privately, and they can hold on to those messages because I'm not able to answer questions while we move through this. So keep in mind that everything in the dream is you. So when you start to write down the who, the what, the where, the why, the when, if you interpret it as all those parts and pieces or aspects of you, you're really going to start to enhance your dream interpretation. And this is where it can really take off and help you in your life and guide you. Just think of everything as an aspect of yourself. If you are wondering if somebody in your dream, like if you have a dream of your grandmother and she's passed on, and you're wondering, oh, could this be a visitation from her? Typically, and my belief and how I work is if their mouth is moving, then it was not a visitation. If their mouth is still and you're having kind of like almost like a psychic kind of a connection, that could be a visitation, because it's usually just them kind of coming in, giving you a message or something, but it's more about a knowing and an understanding. If the mouth is moving, then oftentimes that's going to be like an aspect of yourself communicating something to you. And I will dive into more of that so it'll make more sense as I go. So how to interpret the dreams. It's kind of like, decoding thing. You become a little bit like a detective. If you do read tarot cards and Lenormand cards or anything else like that, then know that it can be like putting those pieces together. So how to interpret the dream, again, like putting things together, combining the symbols to create and solve the mystery of what your dream is trying to get to say to you. So that's one of the important things that you can do. And when you're writing down your dreams, when you're interpreting them, really try to avoid being too literal with them. So so that way you can, not get caught up in things that are not there as well. How to interpret. So applying your dreams to your life, like I said earlier, is one of the best things that you can do, because again, it's like someone giving you a gift. And by getting that gift, then you're honoring that you're getting messages, you're getting information. And when I work with people and they talk about their psychic abilities open up or their dream interpretation opening up, I always say, when you receive something, just simply say, thank you, I see that, I appreciate that, acknowledging it, because then it's like you keep the dialogue open and you can kind of keep the flow going. If you ignore the gift, then chances are that, they may not scream as loud, they may not talk as loud, they may stop kind of pushing forward through. Just think of someone who might be giving you that gift and you don't open it. So then you just move on from there. So who are we in our dreams? So like I've said earlier, the people in your dreams are usually going to be an aspect of yourselves. If it's somebody familiar in the dream, like if it is your mom, then it's probably an aspect of yourself that you're familiar with. If you dream of being in a mall and there's an unfamiliar person that you're talking to, or that it's a good experience or a bad experience, then that unfamiliar person could be an aspect of yourself that you are not familiar with yet, that's trying to come out, like trying to better connect. It could be a suppressed part of you, or just a very unfamiliar part of your psyche that kind of wants to communicate and kind of connect with you. And anytime there might be male or masculine energy, then speaking of male or masculine energy, then it could be something that is dynamic in the dream, especially if it's an unknown person or part of you. If it's a female, then it could be a more receptive, feminine type energy that's kind of connecting and trying to communicate with you. So what's happening in our dreams? So we talked a little bit about the who as being an aspect of yourself. And let's say, and I like using an example of your mother. So if your mother is in your dream, and what type of personality is she? I know if my mom is in my dream, then I know that she is a very strong woman. She's pretty dynamic, but very feminine aspects, beautiful woman. So that may be part of me echoing to kind of come out a little bit and, you know, communicate the information with me. And if my mom is in my dream and we're preparing food, food is often represented as knowledge. So it could be that I need to take a little bit more control of things, and especially of knowledge, of learning, and trying to get things, you know, a better grip on things with myself. The actions often are going to be determined, like the focus of the dream as well. So again, this is where you want to write down, you know, the things, that way you can kind of interpret it. Working intuitively, if you write down all the aspects of a dream and then you kind of come to just the words of what you've written down that you know to be true, the cool thing is that then you're just going to focus on that aspect, and you might almost let go of the images that you had of the dream, because this is kind of like the universe, your subconscious giving you that information and then kind of just working with it and interpreting it. Just to touch on a few things, like I said, food is more about knowledge, our focus on that. If the relationship is harmonious, if mom and I are having a good time, we're preparing food, then it's something positive. If, you know, she's trying to force the food to be prepared and it's just struggling and it's frustrating, then it might be, you know, a course at school that I'm having difficult time understanding. So it might be difficult for me to bring that knowledge in. If there's conflict, that could be me just not understanding it. And maybe, you know, I was good in math, but a lot of people aren't. So if they're in a math course and they're failing it, then preparing this food with your mother in the kitchen may be like just trying to force feed it down your throat if it's not going very well in the dream. Oftentimes hands are about creating things as well. So keep in mind what the hands are doing in your dreams if you can see them. So location. So this is the where in the dream. So in the dream, if my mom and I are preparing food and we're in a church, then most likely that dream is something spiritual in nature. You know, if it's church, home, work, you know, in a restaurant, things like that. Those all, where it is taking place, can help you understand better what it's about. And this is a good time for me to say, don't or avoid taking the dreams too literal. A lot of times the dream interpretation is extremely simple, to the point, and direct. I used to offer sessions for dream interpretation, but a lot of times, you know, even a 30-minute session, someone tells me their dream, 5 or 10 minutes, I'm like, well, here's what it means. It's boom, 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 boom. Very simple, very succinct. You know, that's why I say, you know, don't take it too literal. Don't, you know, embellish on the things, but just focus on the very simple components of what the dream is, and then just somehow apply it. Speaking of the where, again, like I said, the church, maybe you need to focus on something spiritually. Home, if you're in your own home or a home, then it could be about your mind. It could be about thoughts going on there. If you're at work, you know, like your work situation, and that's tough because a lot of people are working from their home. So keep in mind, are you in, you know, in the workspace of your home versus like the living room or the kitchen of your home? But the home can often represent your mind and your thoughts. Again, work can be about, you know, achievements, goals, sustenance, you know, feeling worthy of that. Sexual situations are often about creativity, developing your gifts, bringing things to life, you know, starting a new business and new stuff like that. And like a full-on restaurant, we're back to knowledge because that's where food is served there. So the how. So how are things going in the dream? And I touched on that just a little bit. You know, if things are going really well and peaceful and calm, then it could be just like a cheerleader boosting you on to take better control of your life. If things are difficult, you know, that car speeding through the, you know, through the thing and the brakes are not working, you know, how are you driving your body too fast and you're out of control? But if you're sightseeing and you're feeling really good, then the dream's going very well. So it's kind of like a positive message, something good, and not so much just negative or like, you know, a cautionary type of a thing. Keep in mind, you know, that especially if you're working with other people interpreting your own dreams, and when I would help someone interpret their dreams, I always came back to the original thing of, this is for you to interpret. I kind of say, how about this? How does that feel? What about this? How does that feel? Because ultimately you should interpret your own dreams because they are coming from your subconscious, your mind. I don't know that a dream interpreter is going to be able to give you 100% the best interpretation for you. It's still got to fit and resonate within you. And within things universally, culturally, or personally, a vehicle for someone may be a bicycle, or a scooter. If you live in a high metropolitan area, then a scooter may be a way you get around, where me living in Central Florida, it's a car. So what is universal may not always be the same for you culturally or personally. So keep that in mind as you interpret, especially for other people, but also for yourself. And then the why. So during your dreams, they often are going to help support your journey along your pathway. And then how might that dream, with your mother, preparing food in a church, in a very calm way, how might that relate to your life right now? If I was in college and I was studying, because I went to a small Christian liberal arts university, and there was maybe like a religion course that I was just not enjoying, or I wanted to check out of, and I was fighting to take the test, to read, to study, to do whatever, then that could be where this dream of my mom, and we're not, we're not doing too well in our dream, we're fighting, we're arguing. If I'm calmly doing it, then maybe it's a piece of cake, or maybe it's really resonating with me, or really bringing to light new knowledge for who I am. So moving on. So at this point, I know that's a lot of information to process, but I'm about to shift gears a little bit. So any questions about what I've talked about so far? The chats seem to have stopped a little bit, so I'm not sure if they turned all chats off or just a certain few people. So if you have any questions, type them into me if you're out there. Because I'm going to summarize, while the questions come up, I'm going to summarize. And this is if you're taking notes, here's the biggest place. Summarize. Who is in the dream? Very, very important. What are they doing? Are you in the dream yourself? Or are you kind of observing it almost like a third party, godlike eye? Where are they doing what they're doing? And how is it going? What's the feeling? What's the vibe? What's the emotion here? Write down some adjectives that can best describe. Hey, Patricia. And then why is a dream happening right now? Which is really, how do you apply this to your life? How can you, set this into motion to help you move forward? So I want to dive into more of the actual interpretations and things like that. Again, you can take notes here, or you can grab this book, Naked in Public by Andries, Andries. Great resource to have. Not a very big book. You could read it literally in one sitting. So a car or a vehicle represents your body in the way that I interpret. This is not for everybody, but this is my interpretation. This is what I teach. If you go, I don't know if that works with me, or I have a book that says something different, go with what resonates with you. But if you think about your spirit or your soul getting into a car and driving it, and then when you're done with that car, your spirit, your soul leaves the body, then the car really represents that. Pretty cool. If you're driving in a dream in your car and you're traveling slowly, maybe you're feeling kind of sluggish. Maybe you need to slow down. If you're driving erratically, maybe you're driving your body too hard. You're not getting enough sleep. If you're in a boat on water, water can represent emotions. So it may be a very emotional time. It's not a recurring dream, but it's a recurring theme. And that is big wind, big water, big waves coming at me. I'm with my family. It's overwhelming, but I always know right where to hide, right where to protect, how high to climb. Sometimes it's hurricane, sometimes it's tornado, sometimes it's a wave, sometimes it's just storm, sometimes it's flooding. But for me, that would be absolute emotions. If you dream you're in a plane or a train, that is a vehicle with a lot of people going in the same direction. So it could be something of like mind. Like right now, we're talking, there's a lot of, protests and things going on. There's a lot of like minds going in a lot of the same direction. So you could be having dreams where you're on planes and trains, headed in the same direction. You feel like, okay, I'm going the same place these people are going. Airplanes can often represent the fastest route, the fastest way to get there in your dream. So it could be the quickest representation. So inside the house, the different rooms, what they potentially can mean. Kitchen, where you prepare knowledge. All right. So if you're dreaming of in the kitchen, then it's maybe about where knowledge, intellect, things like that are happening. Dining room is where you would receive it or take it in. It's almost like the classroom kind of a setting, but it could be where you're, receiving things. And if you're sitting in the dining room and you're waiting for dinner to be served and it never comes, it's like, okay, I never got the knowledge. You're not getting the information. You're not understanding it. Bedrooms are for rest, recharging. It's where you assimilate what's going on. So if you're dreaming that, then it definitely could be where, things are kind of coming up. So, and you guys don't forget to look at the chat. There's other information going on for the chat, upcoming events as well. Bathroom. A lot of people are dreaming in the bathroom. It's a place to release, a place to let go, a place to cleanse. Think shower, think toilet. Even brushing your teeth, even shaving, you're trimming things down. Living room is often an area of kind of activity and learning. And then this is where we'll dive into a lot of the symbols of your dreams. So this is where, get your questions ready, especially if you've got symbols that I'm talking about and you want to write them out, and we can talk about them in a little bit of the chat at the end. So animals, and a lot of people dream of animals. They are often about habits, addictions. I'll never forget years ago, and I'll be honest with you, I do not know if it was when I was struggling with, drinking. I've been, clean and sober for 28 years, but I remember we had a black poodle and he was being eaten by an alligator in my dream. And I remember grabbing the alligator's jaws, opening it up, reaching down the throat and pulling the dog out. So I literally saved one habit from a larger, meaner, nasty one, and, if you know anything about, thank you, Patricia, if you know anything about like addictions and things and stuff like that, oftentimes you go from one to the other, so stopping drinking and I really didn't do any other drugs, but stopping alcohol, then food was kind of, a little bit of the addiction at that point. So the dog could have represented the lesser of the two, habits that were wreaking havoc on my life. So if you're dreaming of, you could dream of a little tiny snake that's beautiful and green, and it could be about, healing, or you could, how you're addicted to learning about, or it could be a mean, awful snake, and it could be a habit that's really got you on board. So it could be like, drug abuse versus biting your nails. Two very different habits, but they do kind of take over your life. Nightmares. So often nightmares, who has nightmares out there? Nightmares are often when you feel out of control. Who often has nightmares more than anybody else? Children. Children are often told what to do, what to wear, what to eat, where to go, how to do it, when to go to bed, when to go to school, when to go to class. So oftentimes they feel like they have absolutely no, control over their lives. Frankie, yes, animals can represent habits or addictions and things like that. Yes, they can. In this way of interpreting, if that resonates with you, go with it. So if I ever work with somebody and they're saying, my child is having nightmares, one of the first things I'll say is, give them some choices. Do you want the red shirt today or the blue shirt? Do you want chicken or steak? Give them choices in their life. Let them think they have some control, or give them some control, because they probably are feeling out of control at that moment. So Patricia, any thoughts on someone who suffers sleep paralysis? Someone is breaking into my house, the most common one for me. So sleep paralysis, from what I understand and what I've read, that is the natural state of your body. Your brain puts your body into the state of paralysis so it does not hurt itself. Because if you are having a dream that you're running or you're fighting, and your body has not activated that sleep paralysis, you're going to flail around and hurt yourself. So a lot of times if someone is conscious, lucid in their dream, and they can't move, they're in that in-between state of sleep, deep sleep paralysis, and being kind of consciously awake, or you're waking up or thinking you're awake. Again, there's various levels of all of that. Someone is breaking into my house is the most common one for me. Yeah, and so someone You don't know who. So that could be an unfamiliar aspect of yourself trying to get into you, trying to, understand you better. This could be where, a part of you is ready to take you to the next level of growth, next level of learning. Let's say you want to get out there and start dating. You've been single for way too long, and you keep having these dreams someone's breaking in. That could be this, part of you that needs to get themselves out there, put themselves online, go out to restaurants and bars and activities, but you're afraid to. So it could be someone trying to break into your tight little prison of you that you've created, that you put around you. Again, this is where you've got to interpret for yourself. You've got what's going on at that moment, because the dreams are really about what's going on at that moment, 95% of the time. So death in a dream is about change, about transition. Murder is about forced change. So if a child, dreams of being murdered, and you are in the middle of uprooting your family and moving across the United States, forced change. If the child is being forced to go to a new classroom or something, they could start having dreams about that, because it's like death to the self. Food, dreaming about food is knowledge. We talked about that. Another big one that a lot of people talk about, and I've never had that dream, is teeth, like their teeth falling out. So if your teeth are falling out, teeth will chew up food. Food is knowledge. So you're trying to break down the knowledge so that you can assimilate it and digest it. So a lot of the times the teeth are about, if they're falling out, then you are overwhelmed with trying to learn something probably. But again, apply it to what's going on at that moment. So Osceola Library said, sometimes dreams can be very detailed and vivid, and oftentimes they're reoccurring. Is there a specific reason for dreams happening many times over a span of years? Yes, and that is, yes. Usually because you didn't get the lesson, because you're not listening, you're not paying attention. And that's the beautiful thing about trying, so start working with the lesson, start trying to understand. Like I haven't had one of the big water dreams in a long time. I feel like, okay, I got the lesson, because it hasn't been in a while. So yeah, so that is a big part of it. So yeah, teeth is about assimilating that knowledge. So if they're falling out, they might be overwhelmed. Talked about unknown people being lack of self-awareness. Flying, free thinking, or feeling free. That would be the opposite of a nightmare dream, where you have no control. You're completely free. For me, I love when I have a flying dream. I'm up, I'm flying, but then the moment I am lucid and I go, wait a minute, I'm flying in a dream, I literally, and I come back down to the ground. I'm like, I know I can do it. I know I can do it. And once I try to do it, I can't. But once I just allow it to happen, I can fly. So that would be, for me, not overthinking my freedom and just allow myself to be who I need to be at that moment. Yes, so recurring dreams could be repeating habits and behaviors as well. School can be about life lessons. Running can be about avoidance, running from things in life. Frankie says, one of my worst is ex-boyfriend, worst man of my life, keeps stabbing me in the breast. I just take it. I just take it. I don't move. I can't seem to move away. So first of all, what you want to do, and Frankie, this is the tough part. Look at that boyfriend as yourself. So where are you stabbing yourself in the breast? And breast can ultimately represent feminine. It can represent sustenance to new life. So if you're stabbing the breast, this could be where you're afraid to allow yourself to start to grow again. And you're just taking it. So if you interpret that entire dream, and that is a really powerful dream, just the dynamics of it is probably pretty harsh for you to experience. But the moment you start going, so it's not my boyfriend, it's not the ex-boyfriend, that's me stabbing myself. So what do all those things mean to me? Thank you for sharing that, first of all, because that's pretty personal. So thank you for sharing that. So Frankie, let me know if that makes a little more sense. So where might you be self-sabotaging yourself from your sustenance? Because if you stab the breast, it's not going to function. It's going to leak. The milk, the sustenance is gone. You're not going to be able to grow and develop, because that's mostly for babies who need coddling and care to grow. And you're just standing there taking it. So powerful dream. Thanks for sharing that. So if you dream of fire, that can be about transformation. Money can be about personal value issues. Where do you place your value? If you just see money being gone, do you believe you're worthy? And do you believe you're enough, of whatever it is you're trying to search for on that point? So Osceola Library says, can noise in your physical surroundings affect you and your dream? Yes, they can influence you for sure. And they can also maybe not help you dream as much if it's like physically keeping you awake. So Frankie, I couldn't understand why he's still traumatizing me after all these years. Thank you for that interpretation. And Frankie, this is where I will flip it and say, where are you still traumatizing yourself for all these years? For one, being either duped or, or not getting away from them, or whatever it is. Where have you, quote, not forgiven yourself? That's what I would say about that. And again, thank you for sharing that, because that's pretty personal, pretty private. But yeah, so I would look into that. Amanda says, I have recurring one of a faceless person startling me from behind and cutting my hair. So the faceless person is you. So it's an aspect of yourself kind of coming out, kind of, it's like you didn't know they were there. You didn't know that part of you was there. So what does your hair represent? That's why I would say, what does it represent to you? Is it Samson? It's your strength. Is it your feminine? It's, because long hair would be about being feminine. So maybe this is, you're being startled by this masculine coming out and cutting the feminine off a little bit. So let me finish up and the questions are great, you guys. So being naked is about being honest and open. Fighting can be about not getting along with yourself. And that's where we talked about some of that stuff, breaking in, stabbing in the chest, not getting along with yourself. So be very conscious. If you want to start dreaming, be conscious of what you're eating, drinking, consuming before you go to bed. Do your research about, how you can have a better night's sleep. Study that yourself, whether it's like looking into, is it melatonin for sleep? Caffeine, cigarettes, all those things can disrupt the sleep at night. So be conscious of that as well. Heavy meals can also affect it as well. And don't forget this. Sometimes your dreams are literally just your subconscious taking the trash out. Meaning, what did you do that day? How was your day? If you're dreaming about work and it was the same thing you did that day, then it's your subconscious is getting this stuff out of the way so that you can get down to more, important stuff. And like I talked about, again, pay attention to your dreams. Writing them down, journaling them is the best way to say, I'm paying attention. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to grow. And just using that information to, kind of move yourself forward. So you guys keep the questions coming if you have them. I'm going to step into just a little bit of lucid dreaming. There's an entire world out there. And in a nutshell, lucid dreaming is bringing consciousness and conscious awareness to your subconscious mind during dream time. So it's where you get to directly interact with those signs, with those symbols, with those people. With the ex-boyfriend stabbing you, with the unfamiliar part of you cutting your hair off, if you set the intention as you go to bed to be lucid, if you realize at that moment that you're being stabbed, that you're conscious, you may say, no more. Now, what is this about? You may stop that attack in your dream and start to turn it around. And I tell you, this is where life-changing moments happen in dream time. And I'll tell you, for me, the best one was, there was years ago, a movie called Dreamscape. And the theme of it in a nutshell was a gentleman, I think it was, oh my gosh, I can't remember. I'll think of his name in just a moment. It was a famous actor, and he's like older than me now. But he could go into people's dreams and help them. So then he was helping people. But then they hired him, espionage, to go into the president's dreams, who was having nightmares, to help him. But they were like double agenting, and they were going to kill the president in his dream. But what I realized through that movie called Dreamscape was about lucid dreaming. And once you know that you have the ability to become lucid, it's really powerful and can start happening. That night or the night after that, I went to bed, and in my family business, this gentleman named Skip was chasing me through our family business. He was in red. He looked like the devil. He was ugly, and I was scared. And I remember cowering in the corner, and I literally, in my dream, I went, wait a minute. This is my dream. All the aspects in here are me. I was conscious in that moment. I was lucid, and I turned around and I shot my arm up and I shot fire out of my arm, and I chased them out of the family business. And that honestly was probably the very last like nightmare, scary type dream I ever had. I can only think of one other time where I was in that self-paralysis, seeing a shadow figure at the end of my bed. And years later, I looked back and realized what I was looking at was myself. And I just didn't recognize it. And I was still paralyzed because I was so deep into that state. So when I realized I could take control in my lucid dreams, I got rid of that. And it was just so powerful. You guys, yeah, ask the questions because I'm about to wrap up my part and I'll answer any questions you guys have. Another thing, remember, you are safe in your dreams. It is my belief, and everybody I've worked with teacher-wise, you cannot die in your dreams. Some people believe if you die in your dream, you die in real life. You know, so just try to understand. You can set the intention before you go to bed to be more lucid. You can go online, look up reputable people who have, you know, good following, things like that, of YouTube or other places. Or there's so many books on lucid dreaming, so many books. It's overwhelming almost. But, you know, and here's something I want to caution you on. And this is just to better understand it. This is in the book, Naked in Public. They were working with a guy who was having dreams being attacked by a tiger. So the man went into his dreams and he killed the tiger. Well, the man was an athlete and he was a runner. The moment he killed that tiger in his dreams, his athletic abilities started to suffer. And what he finally realized was that tiger in his dream was an aspect of himself. And that was his drive to run, to be the best. It was his inspiration. It was his power animal. And he just killed that drive within him. So I'm pretty sure he went back in and did a little ceremony and brought that tiger back in. But, you know, be conscious of, you know, what the things in your dream. So, you know, so to use your example, if that person comes up behind you who's trying to cut your hair and you like kill them and get them out of your life, you may have just gotten rid of your next step in enlightenment. You know, if you kill that ex who's stabbing you in the breast, you may be stunted in your personal growth and emotional growth from there forward. You may have to start over the next lifetime. So embrace that everything in the dream is an aspect of you and learn from it, interpret it, and work forward from it. So, so any questions? I know that's a lot. Journal. Who, what, why, where, when, and how is very important. Intuitively work with every aspect of it. So you guys, let me know if you have any other questions as we're coming. We've got 10 minutes, 11 minutes, but we're not going to necessarily go to the full length of that. And I do want to let you know at this point, she may be letting me know this, Michelle may be letting me know, but on July 18th, we're going to do this again for animal communications, intuitive animal communication on July 18th, 1 p.m. You'll start to see notifications for that as well, part of their summer learning program. Okay, so let's see, Patricia. I have ones where it's so vivid that I am in space looking at planets up close that it takes a while after waking up for me to realize reality. So when they are very, very, very vivid dreams, that could be where you're kind of like maybe astral traveling or you're more lucid. I know at night sometimes I'm in other worlds. I feel like I'm in a sci-fi movie. I know I'm in a parallel universe or another galaxy, helping, saving, working, doing the work that I kind of do here in this lifetime. See, Frankie says, then how do you know what to do in the dream? You'll know. That's like you'll trust, because you'll feel that empowerment. At least I believe you will feel that empowerment, because once you realize that it is a dream that you're not a victim to, but you are lucidly in charge of it, then you'll know what you need to do. That's my belief. So let's see. Yes, I know. I can't believe an hour has passed as well. So more information from the Osceola Library. Check it out, you guys. Amanda, thank you, Amanda. It's good to see your face as well. I saw your face a little bit. So you guys, any other questions? Otherwise, we'll be signing off shortly. So yeah, and you guys, you can find me, mitchellosborn.com. If I have permission, I will type that in. That is my website where you can see me. Sorry, Frankie, I typed that to you personally. I need to type that to everybody. There we go. So that's my website where you can see all that I have to offer. I do a lot on social media, a lot of free stuff out there. So Frankie, I remember being told you hit the floor from falling, you die. I don't believe that. You know, I believe death is about transformations when you're happening in the dream. And many people echo that same thing. So this is where I say, do your own research and go with what feels best. Everybody remember to journal. Yes, journal. And you guys, you can do it in your phone. Pull up the notes if you got an iPhone or whatever, get a diary app and just talk into it, type into it, journal. Write it down, get a dream journal. And again, great book. The library has it to check out, or you can go purchase it if you just Google Naked in Public, Andrews, Catherine and Patrick Andrews. I'm pretty sure it's still out there. All right. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to Michelle. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Mitchell, so much for that program. We really appreciate that. After our program, please visit the library's website for more upcoming events that are happening. Our next live adult program will be Create a Creature with Needle Felting. That's going to happen next Wednesday, June 24th at 2 p.m. So we are going to conclude for today. Thank you very much, Mitchell Osborn, for joining us. If you'd like to learn more about animal communication, he will be presenting another program with us on July 18th. July 18th at 1 p.m. Visit the Osceola Library System Facebook event page for more details, or go to our website at osceolalibrary.org/summer-learning for more information. Again, thank you so much, Mitchell. Thank you, everyone else, for joining us today. Bye-bye.